Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, worshippers of all ages, welcome to YouTube. My name is SeaRaptor, and today we're bringing you a first look at Tier VIII Premium British cruiser HMS Tiger 59. Now, as you look over Tiger, one of the first things you're probably going to realize if you've played the British light cruiser line at all, Raptor, that looks an awful lot like an Edinburgh hull. Well, yeah, you're really not far off. You're going to find a lot of similarities between this ship and Edinburgh over in the tech tree, at least in terms of handling and maneuverability and profile and detection. But there's a lot to unpack with Tiger. There's a lot of radically different things that this ship does that Edinburgh doesn't, and vice versa, if I'm honest. And so you're going to have to give me a little bit to kind of talk about it, because Tiger is a very, very interesting ship. Now, Tiger has the unique distinction of being an actual ship. Like, Tiger in this configuration existed. She was converted to this kind of a look in, I believe, the early to mid-1950s. These turrets that you see, yes, if you've played a Minotaur, you recognize the main battery turret. That turret on Minotaur was a real turret. You see it here deployed on Tiger, just as it was in real life. But you'll also notice, right, where we've got this forward 6-inch turret. Like, if you think of this as an Edinburgh, right, you normally would have had a triple-barreled turret here, a triple-barreled turret here, where I've got one of these big fancy AA mounts, another triple-barreled turret back here, possibly. Of course, Edinburgh would have mounted another turret, but bottom line is, the overall lines and superstructure and look and everything is going to remind you of Edinburgh, but there are definitely some things, some differences. So let's have a look around. First up, survivability, 33,100 hit points. This is not very exciting. This is not exciting. The only reason this ship avoids being worst in tier in terms of HP is because Ochakov exists, which is about 3,000 hit points less than this. So this is an incredibly fragile cruiser, especially Tier 8, especially for a ship that will regularly see Tier 10 opponents, like a Stalingrad or a Hindenburg, that will make a light snack of something like poor Tiger here. Okay, 4% torpedo protection, nothing to get really excited about here. Don't get hit by torpedoes. Armor layout, even less to like here. 25mm extremities means that you have typical light cruiser armor for the tier. You are not going to be able to bow tank basically anything meaningful. The odd ship in your matchmaking bracket, you might be able to do this like like a KG5 maybe, but most ships you're going to run across in your matchmaking bracket will easily overmatch your bow. And only 83mm of belt armor. You might as well not have much belt armor for this. Now, there is the possibility, and I have not tested this, I am purely speculating. There is the possibility that this ship may have a little bit of Smolensk syndrome, in the sense that the belt armor and the width of the ship might be too thin for full AP shells to arm of, what would normally be a citadel on some cruisers might actually just be an overpen as the shell completely passes through the ship here with HMS Tiger. I'm not convinced of this, though, and the reason for that, Tiger's got a healthy amount of beam here. I mean, look at that. That's your citadel, right? There's a lot of citadel in there. I have a hard time imagining that even at the speeds that shells travel in this game that you won't catch and it won't arm in there. I don't buy that, right? So Tiger is going to be very, very fragile at almost any angle, I feel like. Certainly a Stalingrad is just salivating at the idea of catching one of these things with AP in the guns, and let's be honest, it's a Stalingrad. You've got AP in the guns. So yeah, this is a fragile ship. You've got to really play her really cautiously. So does she have any advantage in that department? Well, let's have a check. Maneuverability, again, nothing here to crow about. 30 knots. Basically 30 knots. Worst in tier. Not even really all that close. I mean, you've got some ships in the low to mid 32-ish a change. The Hipper class ships. Irian is like 32.5. Charles Martel is 32.5. The Americans are 32.5. But nobody else is this slow. This is bad. This is very, very bad. This is a ship that's not necessarily going to get up to a position that can be useful in a hurry. And then once it does get there, it's probably not going to be able to get out of trouble in a hurry either. Turning circle, 590 actually is on the other end of the spectrum. 590 qualifies for best in tier. I don't know if that's really amazing when you only have 30 knots to play with, but it's noteworthy, so we point it out. 8.9 second rudder shift, I mean, Again, not too shabby, not best in tier, but not amazing. It's pretty solid. There are ships with faster rudder shifts, but overall, when you kind of look around, I've been trying to kind of scroll through the list of Tier 8 cruisers. What's something that might handle like this ship? You know, like, honestly, the nearest analogy I can come up with is probably a Cleveland. And that's not exactly a ringing endorsement here. Cleveland's turning circle is a little wider, but her rudder shift is a little faster. But in terms of low rate of speed, turning circle is similar, not identical. Cleveland is 660, so it's larger, but it's comparable. And the Cleveland's rudder shift is a little faster than Tiger, but you're talking about a second and a half. You're probably not going to notice it most of the time. She's going to handle a little bit that way. Now, I will say that she looks to have a shorter overall length than Cleveland, so that means that she will feel some different, but that's probably the nearest analogy I can come up with. Concealment 11.3, you see here on base, on the surface with the camo on. It is, without the camo, she does have the same detection as Edinburgh 11.7. So this is a ship that will get down to 9.2 at a full stealth rig, just like HMS Edinburgh over in the tech tree. Okay, so that's kind of nice. Now, one big thing she does have from Edinburgh is her air detectability is higher, but the reason for that is that her AA range is higher. We'll talk about that in a minute, but essentially, when you fully rig this ship for stealth, this aerial detection will match her longest AA bubble range. That's typical. Wargaming hasn't screwed that up. It's good to go. Main battery. Here's where things start to get very, very curious. HMS Tiger's main battery is comprised of two of these, what I would consider now Minotaur-style main battery turrets. These are twin-barreled 6-inch dual-purpose auto-loaders, okay? In real life, these ships were designed to fire 20 rounds a minute. On Minotaur, they fire 15 rounds a minute. Here on Tiger, they've actually been sped up a bit. They fire a little over 8. They fire just short of 19 rounds a minute. You see there, 3.2 rounds per second. 3.2 second reload gives them an 18.8 rounds per minute battery rate. So that's better than Minotaur, but she has a lot less barrels, right? We only have 4 main battery barrels on this ship. So she puts a lot of shells out of those barrels, but she doesn't put many shells downrange overall, which is a problem that Minotaur certainly does not suffer from. You see there, of course, 4.7 degree turn time. These things turn on a dime. You don't have to worry about ever taking, grease the gears or whatever they call that skill now. 141 meters of dispersion at 15.6 kilometers of range. That's not going to feel very accurate. That's not going to feel very accurate. I mean, this is still cruiser accuracy, right? This is about the same kind of accuracy as you get out of, say, a Belfast 43. The difference is that the Belfast 43 puts way more shells into that dispersion ellipse than poor Tiger here. Okay, so I don't like the look of the main battery so far. I really don't. The AP damage there, you see 3,200 per shell. That is a little higher than what Minotaur puts out. Just, I guess, as a little bit of a nudge, try to nudge her DPM up a smidge. But right now, her DPM is pretty trash. And you see there, of course, British cruiser only getting the AP shells. Okay, she does not get access to the HE shells as many of her premium British light cruiser brethren do, like the 2 Belfasts, for example. Tiger does not suffer this problem. So, main battery, I'm going to say very questionable. Like, I don't know about this. Now, AA defenses. Here's where things get interesting. I talked about the main battery being dual purpose. Yep, there they are. So that's where her long range firepower comes from, out to 6.9 kilometers. She puts up 3 flak bursts in that pattern and backs it up with the 76.2 millimeter Mark 6 mounts. These are the same mounts that give Minotaur such a ridiculous mid-range aura, right? The trouble here is that Tiger only mounts 3 of them, whereas Minotaur mounts a lot more, to go with a lot more of those dual-purpose main battery guns. So at first glance, you think, oh yeah, this ship ought to have good AA. The problem is she simply doesn't have enough AA barrels. That's it. The 2 main batteries and these 6 barrels. All told, this ship only has, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 AA barrels. That's it. That's the whole ship, right? That's all you're getting. So the continuous damage does not look all that hot. Certainly 60 in the outer ring is not amazing. It goes out, that outer ring goes out a long way. That feels nice, but it's not until they get into the middle ring that they're really going to start to feel the punch a bit. You're really reliant on the flak here. Now, The good news is, and now it's time to look at her consumables. The good news is that Tiger does get access to the defensive fire consumable. She's going to need this, right? She's going to need this if her AA is going to feel useful, I think, in my opinion. So yeah, she does get access to a very stunning array of consumables. Let's go through this, right? So obviously, damage control party, standard on every ship. She does get access to the fancy British cruiser here. So there we go. She gets British cruiser smoke, and she does get British cruiser radar. So she's getting Edinburgh radar with the 10-kilometer range, married to smoke. Remember, Edinburgh has to choose between smoke or radar. Tiger gets both, just like Belfast 43 does. Belfast 43's difference is Belfast 43 gets quick smokes and a shorter duration radar, a shorter range radar. Belfast 43's radar is only 9 kilometers. Here, Tiger is getting the full range at Tier VIII, 10 kilometers, to go with full duration smoke. So that starts to feel a little good until you realize, you remember that her main battery is only 4 barrels, and you kind of roll your eyes and go, I don't know about this, fellas. So you do have some survivability if you can survive getting dev struck, right? The heal will keep you in the game. You've got the smoke, you've got the radar, and you've got the defensive AA fire. Now, what's missing? What's notably missing from a British light cruiser? No hydro. 0 hydro on this ship. That's going to feel bad. For a ship that's supposed to sit in smoke, that desperately needs that smoke, she cannot put up a hydro to sense incoming torpedoes. Ooh, that's going to feel pretty awful, kids. That's going to feel pretty awful. What else is missing? What have I not talked about? No torpedoes. There are no torpedoes. In fact, Tiger is the only British cruiser in the game, certainly at this high tier, I believe. Probably some low tier ones, right? Like, only British cruiser you're going to see in this matchmaking that has no torpedo armament. We've seen how well this works over on Tier 6 Commonwealth Premium INS Minotaur. And yeah, it doesn't work amazing because that ship constantly seems to find itself, at least when I play it, in situations where, gosh, I could win this engagement if I only had torpedoes. But I don't. Tiger doesn't. So she lacks the hydro, and she lacks torpedoes, and she lacks armor, and she lacks speed. Yeah, I'm trying to. The more I dig, the more I'm trying to figure out what the hell this ship's supposed to do well, right? It's obvious this ship is meant to be a destroyer hunter. But with this, the array of consumables screams murder destroyers. But she just doesn't, with this, I'm not sold on this main battery, guys. I'm not. On paper, this main battery does not look like a serious threat to an enemy destroyer. If I came across this thing in, let's say, Le Fantasque or Le Terrible, I just swap to the AP, pop a relay booster, and probably just Citadel him out of existence, right? His heal can only heal so fast. I bet his heal can't keep him in the game as quickly as I can Citadel him out of existence, right? Yeah, his guns reload every 3.2 seconds, but if I angle just a little bit, I can find ways to ricochet those British AP shells. I don't know, guys. I want to like Tiger. I'm a British light cruiser fanboy. I love these ships too. They're so much fun to play. They're so trolly, and Tiger feels like it wants to fit into this mold, but right now, I think she's lacking something. I'm just not sure what it is. We'll see how it comes through super testing, guys. I expect Wargaming to have to change this ship somewhat. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, guys, there's our first look at HMS Tiger. Wash your hands, be safe, and I'll catch you next time.